Hi everyone. So in this video we are going to take a look on to the SNS trigger. Okay, before that we will take a look on to our deployed Lambda 4 S3 bucket, S3 thumbnail generator, right? This is what we have written in the last video, and this Lambda has been deployed, and we can see the code here. Code is zipped because it's like a 16 MB code with all these packages, and we can see the Lambda trigger here. If we just take a look onto the function overview, this is the trigger, right? And we have created this particular resource, and environment variable also populated whatever the environments we have created, right? Destination, bucket, source, and the sizes. Okay, now this is how it is working. Now we are going to take a look on to another use case of the Lambda trigger is S3 with SNS. What we will do is we are going to send a message to the Lambda, to the SNS topic, and there will be a subscriber Lambda which will be listening to the SNS topic and will receive the message. Okay, so it's like Lambda, SNS, Lambda. This is what we are going to do. So we'll just write the permissions and all these things. So first of all, the stage is this, profile is serverless user, your AWS profile. And here we will talk about IAM role statement. Okay, IAM role statements, and here we will give the access to this Lambda to actually publish something to the topic, right? So we have effect which is saying allow, then we have a resources which is saying everything on what action. So here we are giving a permission to actually access the SNS resources in a particular region. SNS, you can specify the SNS topic, the full definition, but that is fine. And now we will write the functions. So here we will add our functions. Like I'm going to have a two Lambda function. One is the function which will send message to the SNS topic, and here I have handler, and let's call this Lambda as add note. This is the JS file we are going to create, and add note will be the function there. Okay, inside that we will have events. In events, what all events we are handling? The HTTP event. So this Lambda will be triggered. First of all, this add note will be triggered through maybe some API gateway HTTP endpoint. So we'll have the path and all the other attribute. Path will be notes. We will send it using the post method. Method is post. And what is error here? Okay, we forgot the colon. And then cross origin is true. Now we have defined the Lambda definition with the HTTP endpoint, like this will attach to the API gateway, and we have another Lambda which is analyze nodes, and it will also have the handler. Okay, we can copy the handler definition, and with the handler we will have the event. Handler is analyze nodes, that can be the function name, file name, and the same as a function name. Okay, events, on which particular event this particular Lambda will be triggered, so it is a SNS event. And analyze nodes, this is the SNS topic. Okay, events SNS. Yeah, so this is our serverless.yml, clean and simple, the permissions, and we have two functions. Now we will write our functions. One is analyze nodes.js. This is the receiver Lambda. Okay, and we have one publisher Lambda which is add node.js, right? Now what we are doing here is in add-node.js we will just import the AWS SDK and all these things. Okay, so const AWS equal to require AWS SDK. So we got the AWS SDK. We will create SNS equal to new AWS.SNS. This is how we get the instance of SNS, SQS or any other particular resource. And here module dot exports dot add note. This is the function we have, and this function is taking the same set of arguments. What do we have? Event, context and callback. We can make it using async await also. Let's keep it simple for now. And here we will get the data. JSON.parse event.body, because this will be triggered from the API gateway, so you might be sending some data, some not in the HTTP body request, and I will not do the validations that you are sending something in the body or not. We can just simply push it to the SNS. So here we need to create the body of for the topic. This is my message, which is data.note. Okay, and topic ARN. This is important, and you should have this already, or you can create this resource using CloudFormation resources. Okay, this is my topic ARN, analyze nodes, right? My topic ARN, and this is my SNS payload. And what I can do is SNS.publish, and we can, I think, convert that into the promise way. SNS.publish, and in the SNS.publish it will take your params, and this is your callback. If error is there, we will just check. If we are getting any error, then we will return the error callback. Otherwise everything is fine. So if error is there, we'll just do a callback, and we'll pass the null with the different status code. So here in this case, status code will be 501 or something like that, and headers application JSON, content type is application JSON, and your body, right? So body will say what is the problem, right? Unable to process message to SNS topic, something like that. If everything is fine, we will just send a response with the 200. That's it. So this is our Lambda. If there is no error, then we will say everything is fine, all is well, and we will just write it. Now this add node, what it is doing is it is just receiving the data from the HTTP post and sending it to the SNS.publish, right? And this Lambda will be running on the AWS console, so we don't need to configure the AWS secret and key. I mean, until unless you want to run this offline. Now we have analyze note. Okay, analyze note is another Lambda, and analyze note will just receive the payload. So it can be a simple Lambda function where we are just receiving the records, event.record0.sns. This is how, because the second one is the Lambda trigger, and they will receive the data from event.record0.s3, event.record0.sns, event.record0.sqs. This is how you get the data. You are getting the message, now whatever you wanted to do. So this is like a processor Lambda. Now after looking at this message, you can again publish it to the SQS by SQS.publish message or send message. There should be some method like that. Okay, so this is a simple thing we have created, right, using just SNS and the Lambda trigger, and we have already seen the S3 thumbnail generator in the previous video, right? So this is the second use case. We'll talk about the third use case, which is about creating the authorizer Lambda for your API gateway. Okay, that we will see in the next video, and we will also deploy this one. Thanks everyone.